So you've heard about intuitive eating and you are seeing how people are healing their relationship with food, having freedom, having peace around eating, and maybe you really want that. You might have people in your life who are intuitive eaters and they just don't have that mental turmoil. Eating is easy and natural for them, and you want that so badly for yourself. But when you think about intuitive eating, you might think of it as like a free for all. And you might have this idea and this belief that I see so often, which is if I eat intuitively, if I listen to my intuition, I will literally be eating cookies and ice cream and pizza and all of the things all the time. And so I want to talk about that on today's episode. The number one biggest misconception about intuitive eating and why it's holding you back from having a healthy relationship with food. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Live Unrestricted podcast, a show where you'll learn how to heal your relationship with food and your body so that you can focus your time and energy on more important things like your personal growth. I'm your host, Sabrina Magna, food freedom coach, and my mission is to help make your life happier and healthier without stress, overwhelm, or guilt about food. If you love the show, please do go out and share it. And if you're looking for support with your relationship with food, details about my programs are in the show notes. Thanks for spending time with me today. Now let's jump in. All right. Hi, my friend. Thank you for being here, for pressing play. We have a lot of new listeners. I get messages all the time from people on Instagram saying, I just found your podcast. I've been binging from the beginning. And if you are a new listener, welcome. I'm so happy that you're here. And I want to commend you for being such an action taker and just going back from the beginning and listening to all of them. It warms my heart. And if you've been here from the beginning or you've been here for a while, I just appreciate you so much for being part of my community. So I am really excited about today's topic, and it was inspired by conversations I have with you guys, my community, my listeners, and just fears or resistance or misconceptions that I hear often, because whenever I'm recording podcast episodes, I look crazy. I literally sit with my eyes closed and I just kind of connect and I ask my higher self, what does my community need to hear? Because my number one goal, my mission, is to address any fears that might hold you back from making that commitment and taking the leap towards something that is unfamiliar to you and uncommon, right? Like in a world where everyone is dieting and obsessed with restriction, to go against that and to pursue intuitive eating and to pursue a healthy relationship with food, it can feel scary. And I get that because I felt all of that fear. So I really want to address anything that might be keeping you stuck. And one of those things, I would say the biggest thing, is the misconception around intuitive eating. A lot of people think that intuitive eating means that now the floodgates are open. So you just went from restricting and dieting and counting and measuring and hyper controlling your food for years or even decades. That's all you know. And what you also probably know is this huge swing, this all or nothing. So either you are hyper focused and hyper controlling of your food, or you rebound to the other side, which is you're eating everything in sight. There's no rules. There's no sense of thought or like rational decision making or intention. It's just like the floodgates are open and I eat whatever I want. And so it makes perfect sense that when you think about not dieting and when you think about restricting, that's where your mind goes to. You think about the free-for-all. You think about the no rules. And when you're in that state where it's like, oh my God, I can eat whatever I want, Of course, all you can think about is eating those previously restricted foods because your mind on a subconscious level, you're not thinking this consciously, but your mind on a subconscious level is thinking, well, I've just gone a long time without being able to eat these foods. And so now these foods are extra special. You've put them on a pedestal. So you want them more. You think about them more. And then when you do eat them, you probably eat a large quantity of it. So a lot of people, when they think about intuitive eating, they think, well, Sabrina, my intuition tells me to eat cookies and pizza and all of those foods. And so if I listened to my intuition all the time, I would eat like crap and I would feel like crap. And then I would gain all this weight. And then I would end up worse off than where I am now. And so we convince ourselves, I need the restraint. I need the control. I need the counting or the measuring in order to quote unquote keep myself in check. And that right there, my friend, is what people get wrong. Intuitive eating, right? You might associate it with the words freedom, desire, peace, but really the words I want you to connect with intuitive eating is connection, trust, self-respect, self-love, feeling good. Most people concentrate on one dimension of it, which is, what do I want to eat right now? And when you have a history of restriction or you use food for emotional reasons, there's these mental thought processes that can send you into that Last Supper type of eating, very all or nothing. When you have all of that kind of wired inside of your brain from your past, then the question, what do I want to eat right now, can trigger this inner rebel of like, well, now I can eat whatever I want. No one's going to tell me what I can eat. So I'm going to have the pizza and I'm going to have, I keep using the example of pizza because that was my food where I was like, the floodgates are open. I can eat pizza all I want because it was one of my big forbidden foods. But yours might be different. It might be ice cream or chocolate or sweets. But the decisions that you're making from that place aren't intuitive decisions. They are impulsive decisions. There's a difference between intuitive eating and impulsive eating. And when we're talking about impulsive eating, which is what most people think of as intuitive eating, impulsive eating is driven by this urgency, is driven by this scarcity. And it's also driven by emotion, right? So some people think, well, I want ice cream right now. But what they're actually doing is they're using ice cream to numb or distract or soothe themselves from uncomfortable emotions. And this is one of the things that I try to translate and give to my clients inside of Food Freedom Academy all the time, is the importance of asking yourself questions. And that is one big thing that people are missing around intuitive eating, is that they think it's just like, I have a desire and I act on that desire. That's it. You tell me that I can eat whatever I want. So I have a desire to eat a donut for breakfast, and then I eat the donut for breakfast, and then I feel like crap. But that's not what it is. I ask myself questions all day long. And because I'm so used to doing it, I'm used to tuning in to my body, to my emotions, to my desires, and thinking about how certain decisions around food are going to feel an hour from now, 3 hours from now, the questions I ask myself now happen automatically. I don't have to like pause and really think about it. I just naturally have learned to ask myself questions. And so when we're talking about intuitive eating, there is a pause between the desire and then the decision. There's questions you ask yourself around, what do I truly want? What is going to make me feel good? What's going to be satisfying? And what is my intention here? So I'm going to use an example for you to kind of crystallize this. So let's say I'm someone who I've been dieting my entire life, and I'm now listening to Sabrina's amazing podcast, Live Unrestricted. And I'm hearing her talk about intuitive eating and food freedom and not having to live in accordance to all of these rules that dictate my life. And it sounds amazing. So I'm like, I want that. I want to do that. I'm going to stop following all of my rules. I'm going to stop tracking my calories, and I'm just going to allow myself to eat whatever I want. So I wake up in the morning, and now I'm like, there's nothing is holding me back anymore. I am my own person. And so no one can tell me that I can't have 2 pieces of pizza and toast with Nutella for breakfast. No one's telling me I can't do that. And intuitive eating, that's what I want. That's what, sounds good. So I have that. And then I don't feel great afterwards. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't feel great. And it felt a little out of control. And then as the day goes on, you start having cravings for a chocolate bar and ice cream. And you're like, well, no one's telling me I can't. So I'm going to have my chocolate bar and ice cream. And you feel even less good and you feel lethargic. And then nighttime rolls around and now you want to have spaghetti or lasagna, or maybe and I'm saying this, if you didn't allow yourself to eat pasta, then pasta might sound really exciting for you. And so you're like, my intuition tells me that I want to have lasagna and spaghetti, so I'm going to have it. And then by the end of the day, you feel super bloated, you're low energy. The way you ate that day didn't feel good. It felt a little out of control. And you're thinking, well, this intuitive eating thing, it actually feels pretty bad. Like, I don't feel in control around food. I don't like the way that I'm eating, but I mean, I'm listening to my intuition. So like, am I doing something wrong? Maybe intuitive eating doesn't work for me. And I know that there's actually at least a good portion of you who have experienced this before. And I know that because I just got full body chills. And so that tells me that this is the truth for some of you. And so I get it. If you've had that experience, well, you're thinking, at least I feel better while I'm dieting. At least I feel more in control and I'm making better choices. So although dieting and the rules, it kind of rules my life and I feel really bad mentally doing it, well, at least I feel better. So you go back to it. Now, let's use a different scenario. So the first scenario I gave to you, that was impulsive. That was impulsive eating. It was not intuitive eating. So what you may have thought of as being intuitive eating was actually just impulsive, because you didn't really ask yourself questions. You didn't pause. You didn't reflect on your intentions or how things would feel. You kind of just did it. And I get it that for some people, that's part of your process. You need to get that out of your system. But I just personally don't believe that it needs to be that way. I don't believe there's some people who do say in the beginning, you kind of just have to let yourself have free reins and be a free for all. But I am someone who personally, I like to do things step by step. I like structure. I like this flow and a roadmap. And that's why I created Food Freedom Academy, because a lot of people had experienced that situation. And I just don't think that it's necessary that you have to go through that. So let's use that same example, but what it would actually be like as an intuitive eater. So this is how I would go through the day. So you wake up in the morning and there's leftover pizza in your fridge and you have Nutella in the pantry and you've got bread there as well. And also keep in mind that I'm going to take you through this example as someone who's been an intuitive eater for years, who knows how my body responds to things, who is very connected to how things make me feel, and who has the driving intention, like my driving intention on a daily basis is to feel good, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally. And so I know that if I just eat without regards to how that makes me feel, I'm not going to feel good mentally, physically, or emotionally. So wake up in the morning, you've got leftover pizza, Nutella in the pantry, you've got some bread. And it is an option. I could say, I can eat that for breakfast. I have full permission to eat that. But I would pause and I would ask myself, how would I feel if I ate that this morning? And the answer would be probably not great, because my breakfast, I like to have like a hearty breakfast that has a good source of protein, carbs, fat, not super high in sodium or in sugar. And again, it's not because of dieting rules. It's because I know that this sets up my day. I know how it's going to make me feel. And I know I've had enough experience to know that when I have a very high sugar breakfast, I crash a couple of hours later and I just don't feel great. I have a harder time concentrating and with my energy. And so I love myself enough to not want to put myself through that. And I want to call back to what I said earlier, which is the words that we associate with intuitive eating. One of the words I think I gave you was self-love. And the decisions that I make come from that place of self-love, of I deserve to feel good. I deserve to have high energy. I deserve and I want to feel concentrated and productive, because when I don't give my body foods that make it feel good, I have a harder time concentrating. I have more brain fog. I'm less focused, and I want to do my best work for you guys. I want to be able to be productive and concentrated so that I put out good content and good podcast episodes and good stuff for my clients. So let's say I wake up and I have the permission to make those choices, to have the leftover pizza and Nutella. But just because I have the permission to, it doesn't mean that I have to. And that's one thing I really want you to think about. Write it down if you need to, re-listen to this. The permission to say yes is not an obligation to say yes. And with the permission to say yes also gives you the permission to say no. So I have the permission to eat that for breakfast. But if I tune in and I ask myself, how will I feel if I do have this for breakfast? The answer that would come through is probably not really good. So I'm going to choose to make a different decision so that I can feel good for the rest of the day. And the thing is, because pizza is no longer this like super special food that's forbidden, that I have to eat as soon as possible, there isn't this sense of urgency that, okay, it's in the fridge, so I have to eat it right now, because if I don't eat it right now, then maybe Luke is going to eat it. And if Luke eats it, then that means I've missed out on my one chance to eat that food. None of that is going on in my mind. I know, okay, I don't have to eat it now, and maybe I can eat it later, and maybe not. And if I choose not to have it later, then I can have it tomorrow, or I can have it next week, or I can have it next month, whenever the craving actually hits again. So I'm going to choose to have a different breakfast because I want to feel good. So I would choose to have my regular breakfast, which is oatmeal with protein powder, a banana, and peanut butter. And I'm not telling you what my breakfast is so that you take this as a rule or as a prescription and say, Sabrina is having this for breakfast, which means it's a quote unquote good breakfast. So I'm going to have the same thing for breakfast. Please, please, please. I hope you don't hear that. I'm just giving you an idea of the decision that I make, not from a place of restriction, but from a place of self-love. I work out in the morning, and so I need to have a big breakfast afterwards. And I eat a lot, so I need to have a big breakfast. I know that if there's no protein in my breakfast, I'm going to be hungry an hour later. And this actually happened yesterday where I don't think I ate enough earlier on in the day for my breakfast and lunch, which doesn't happen often. I don't know. I think my lunch was just smaller than it usually is. And then I ended up being hungry all afternoon because of it. And no matter how much I ate, it just felt like I was still hungry. And days like that suck. They're really not fun to work with. Like I'm working and I'm thinking about food because I'm hungry, but then I eat and then I'm still hungry. And so it's not fun to work that way. And so I try to avoid experiencing that as much as possible. So going back to the question of breakfast, I don't want you to feel like you have to eat the same thing as me. I want you to ask yourself questions and ask yourself better questions. This is probably one of the biggest things that I see people are missing is they're just not asking themselves questions. And so how the heck are you supposed to get to know yourself, get to know your body, get to know what feels good and doesn't if you're not asking yourself questions? So ask yourself, what is a breakfast that I would be excited to eat, that sounds good to me, and that would also be satisfying and filling and make me feel good for the rest of the morning? So it might be bread with avocado and egg, and then maybe some fruit on the side, or a smoothie. I personally, if you know me, I don't like drinking my food. So smoothies don't work, but for some, they love it. It might be Greek yogurt with granola and fruit in it. So you want to tap into yourself. What is something that would sound good and also make me feel good? That, I mean, I could talk about this for hours, but that's a big thing about intuitive eating too, is that it's about what feels good for your body. So eating whatever you want, whenever you want, without regards to how it makes you feel, that's not intuitive eating. So having a clear definition and perspective about what it is, hopefully is going to give you some clarity on how to move forward. So breakfast, I think about what makes me feel good. And then as the day goes on, let's say I don't work in an office anymore, but let's say that I did and I'm at the office and it's 11:30 a.m. and I have my lunch at noon. At 11:30 a.m., someone comes to my desk and says, Sabrina, my daughter made these amazing homemade cookies. Would you like some? So now, again, if I think of the intuitive eating perspective that most people have, the wrong intuitive eating perspective, they would think, my intuition says, yes, I absolutely want to have cookies and no one tells me that I can't. So yes, Glenda, I will happily take the cookies and eat them now. And again, you have full permission to do so. But what you might notice is if you have those cookies at 11:30 a.m. and then you're supposed to have your lunch at noon, well, those cookies may end up filling you up. And by the time you want to have your lunch, maybe you're not as hungry. And so you don't eat your lunch or you don't eat as much of your lunch. And then you have a crash afterwards because you didn't have like this well-balanced lunch and like all of the things that come along with that. So maybe you're hungry an hour later and that experience doesn't feel good. So you could choose to do that. But what you might notice if you do that is, oh, that didn't feel good. I wasn't hungry for my lunch anymore. And if you reflect on your experience afterwards, which most people don't do, and Luke, when we started working on his intuitive eating, wasn't doing that either. But if you reflect on your experience afterwards, then you might recognize, okay, I do have permission to eat these foods. I do have permission to eat this way. But do I want to? Does it feel good for me? So what I would do as an intuitive eater is someone comes to my office. And again, this is a this is a made up office because I don't work at a desk anymore. But someone comes to my office and says, my daughter made these amazing cookies. I would say, Glenda, yes, those sound great. I'm going to grab one or two and I'm going to have them as my dessert after my lunch. So I would wait until noon. I would have my lunch. And then once I've had my lunch and I've given my body the nutrients and the food, the nourishment that I know that it needs in order to feel good, then I would evaluate. Am I still hungry? Yes or no? And if the answer is yes, would I like to have maybe half a cookie, maybe a full cookie, even 2 cookies as my dessert? Yes or no? And then if I do decide to have the cookie, I would notice that that eating experience would be so much more pleasant. And another thing that I want to say is if you choose to have the cookies at 11:30, then you might notice that you eat really quickly, that after 2 cookies, you want more. Because the thing is, at 11:30, you're pretty hungry at that point. Lunch is coming soon. But if you're eating something like a cookie or chips, which are delicious and they have the function of being delicious, but they're not the most filling or satisfying. And so you're going to need a lot more of that food in order to feel satisfied. So you might go searching for more, and you might go searching for more high sugar, high carb, high fat foods, because at that point you're hungry, instead of looking for your lunch that no longer sounds very appetizing. Whereas if I have my lunch first, well, now I'm able to eat the cookies in a much more mindful way because my body has gotten the nourishment that it needs. And now it's really just about having an enjoyable dessert instead of trying to give my body nourishment through the cookies. I hope that all of this is making sense so far. So the message that I'm really trying to give to you is that there's a lot of these questions that I ask myself all the time. And this is the biggest thing that I've taught my clients in FFA. And I've also gone to teach Luke as he's been on his intuitive eating journey, is pay attention to how your patterns of eating feel for you. And if there's something that doesn't feel good, then now you get to decide, do I want to do something different so that I can feel better? Intuitive eating is about making you feel your best. And what you will notice is that is possible to feel your best and enjoy the foods that you love. Because when that is the goal and that is the intention, then what you'll notice is that you're able to eat the foods that you love in a much more mindful and intentional way. And so that might be making sure that you have a meal in your body before having the cookies. And so you're able to eat the cookie, but not feel out of control and not feel like you have to eat 3 or 4 and overeat and then feel like crap after. You're able to have the cookie, have one, feel satisfied, feel good, and say, all right, wonderful. That was great. I've had what I wanted and I'm good. And if I want to have another cookie later today, I might want to, I might not want to. And that's also okay. Like, I'll give you an example. Easter just passed. And so Luke and I went to my family's for Easter brunch, and my mom and my dad made this like really delicious omelet and pancakes and ham, and we had like these pastries and a lot of maple syrup. I'm Canadian, so as you can imagine, lots of maple syrup. And it was a very sugary brunch. And that's okay. It was really delicious. I did make sure to have some ham and some omelets, because if I'm just eating pastries and pancakes with no protein, I will eat a lot, because it's going to take me a lot more food in order to feel satisfied. And I just won't feel good afterwards. And so I was really mindful to say, okay, I'm going to have some fruit, I'm going to have some omelets, some ham to make it a well-balanced meal. But even then, there was just more sugar than I'm used to having for breakfast/lunch. So I felt this like energy crash around 4 p.m. where I was really tired. And that's okay. I don't regret it at all, because it happens every once in a while. It's not like I overate. It's just, I just naturally don't eat a lot of sugar, because again, not because I feel like I have to reduce it, but simply because it doesn't make me feel good. In the same way, like there's so many things that we don't do simply because it doesn't make us feel good. I don't go a week without taking a shower because I would feel like crap. It's a decision, a personal decision that I'm making. So intuitive eating is about reclaiming your autonomy to make decisions for yourself, not because someone else is telling you that that's what you quote unquote should be doing, but making decisions for yourself because you want to feel good from a place of self-love. And this is something that I didn't realize was going to be so important when I started doing this work with my clients. But after years, it was just a theme that kept coming up, is that we needed to work on building up their sense of self-love. Because if you've had history of dieting and quote unquote failures and a lot of shame and a lot of self-blame, your negative self-talk is very loud. And the self-love and the self-esteem is probably pretty low. So you're not used to making decisions from this place of, I love myself enough to choose to make this food decision. I love myself enough to move my body so that I can feel strong and I can live a long time. We don't come from that place naturally when we have a rough past of constantly beating ourselves up. So making that shift to cultivating that self-love, to changing the self-talk, to having more care towards yourself. Like, we have a lot of exercises inside of Food Freedom Academy just for that. Because if you change the intention of the choices you make with food, with movement, with self-care, and it's no longer coming from a place of I have to, I should, or restriction and punishment, but now it's coming from a place of I want to because it makes me feel good and I deserve it. Well, those choices are going to come a lot more naturally to you. You're not going to have to force or use willpower because you're going to want to, in the same way that you genuinely want to take care of the people that you love. If you think of your kids, if you think of your partner, and you know that there's something that you could do for them that's going to make them really happy, that you're going to see like this massive smile on their face and they're going to be so grateful and it's going to make their lives easier, you don't have to force yourself to do that, right? Like, I don't know about you, but at least I know if there's something that I can do for Luke, that I'll give you guys an example. Oh, this is running a little bit long, but this was such a heartwarming story. So Luke, I got crystals for myself, like these crystal bracelets for myself in Sedona back in December. And it was like my first crystals. I was really excited about it. I got myself 2 bracelets and I bring home these crystals and I'm showing Luke and I'm teaching him everything that I've learned about crystals. And you could tell he has this like longing face and like, he was like, "Oh, I want to have my own crystals." And he's never been a crystal guy. So I felt so bad. I was like, "I'm so sorry, babe. Like, I didn't realize that you were interested in all of this." And truthfully, he wasn't until I was telling him all about it. So I told myself, next time I go to Sedona, I'm going to get him his very own crystals. So that's exactly what I did. I found this like crystal bracelet that was black and gray. I can't remember what the crystal type was, but I knew I was like, I'm going to get him this. And I really think that he's going to love these. I can't wait to give it to him. And when I gave it to him, he was so excited and he was so grateful, and he's been wearing the bracelet every day. And he even told me this morning, he was like, "I love my crystals." And that right there, I didn't have to force myself or use willpower to make that decision and get him that gift. I wanted to. And so I know that there are things in your life that you do for people that you love because you want to. And so when it comes to intuitive eating, asking yourself the question of, where are my decisions coming from? Are my decisions around food and movement coming from a place of self-love because I want to and I know that I deserve to feel good? Or is it just coming from impulse or rebellion or past restriction rebound, or this like needing to reclaim your autonomy? And this is something that I recommend you journaling on, because the driving intention behind everything that you do, and I've talked about this before, why you're doing something is one of the most important things. So to wrap all of this up with a beautiful little bow that I want to drive the point home here is that intuitive eating and impulsive eating are 2 completely different things. And impulse eating is often not asking yourself questions and pausing and reflecting on, how is this going to make me feel? How is it going to make me feel 5 hours from now? How do I want to feel? How do I deserve to feel? What is my intention here? Whereas intuitive eating is asking yourself those questions. How do I want to feel? What's important to me? How is this going to feel in my body? And what is the intention behind this? So I hope that you got some golden nuggets from this episode. And if you have been kind of unsure about intuitive eating, or you know people in your life who have been unsure about intuitive eating, maybe they have these same questions, or maybe they have, this would be even more fun, if they know nothing about intuitive eating, but you know that they could really benefit from this conversation, from like this new perspective, send this episode to them. My mission is so clear, and it is to help as many women as possible break free from this prison of yo-yo dieting, disordered eating, food obsession. Because the thing is that when you are stuck in that, you cannot achieve your highest potential because you're in survival mode. You're constantly obsessed with food in your body, and you have limited brain space and energy. And so when that brain space and energy is being consumed and shriveled up by thoughts about food in your body, that doesn't leave anything else for your goals, your dreams, your passions, the relationships you have in your life, helping others. It's really hard to help others and have an impact and create a ripple effect of change in the world when you're constantly trying to, quote unquote, fix yourself and you're having a hard time helping yourself. And I would not be able to be here helping others, helping as many people as I am, if I hadn't fixed my own relationship with food. So that is my mission, to help as many women clear all of that from their lives so that you can achieve your highest potential. And women are the future. Women are so freaking powerful. And so when all of us women can clear all of that and step into our power, just think about the ripple effect on this world. So send it to women in your life who could use this, who could benefit from this. I love you so much. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to send me a DM or follow me on Instagram, sabrina.magnan.health. Follow me for tips, daily stories, behind the scenes, all of that fun stuff. I want to connect with you. I want to hear from you that you listen to this podcast. So follow me, connect with me there, and I will see you on the next episode. Bye, my love. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you found it valuable, I would love if you would share it with someone you know that could benefit. If you're loving the show, don't forget to subscribe over on Apple Podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. I really love hearing feedback from you, so please leave a rating and review over on Apple to help us get in the ears of more people who need it the most. Finally, come hang out with me on Instagram at Sabrina Magnan Health for more educational content and get up close and personal with me. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you on the next episode.